Hey everyone, and welcome back for another unit builder video. The Bridal Beloveds banner just dropped Monday night, and we've got a new Tempest Trial event starting in just a few days. You know me, I love to build units, especially the free ones we get in these kind of events. And oh my god, I cannot believe the unit that we're going to talk about today. You guys saw the thumbnail, it's the Fury Master himself, Hinata. Doesn't he look adorable? Hinata was one of my favorite characters from Birthright, and as much as I loved him then, I've never built him up here in FEH, nor did I ever expect him to get a seasonal out. I'm super excited, so why don't we go ahead and pull up his base stats and get started. GROOM Hinata is coming in as an infantry axe unit this time around. At 5 stars, level 40, his stats read as HP 47, attack 37, speed 27, defense 40, and resistance 21. And as a reminder, because Hinata is a free unit, he will be locked to neutral stats. Now, what is this? 40 defense? That is fantastic. The man is going to be a tank, that's for sure. Regular Hinata was always very bulky to begin with, but it's nice to see him get a slight upgrade that already leans into his strengths. And for reference, let me go ahead and pull up regular Hinata's stats for comparison, because for the most part there's quite a few improvements. They share the same base HP, which is fine. I had originally thought GROOM Hinata came with 51 HP based on what we saw in the banner reveal video, but I forgot to take into account that he was getting a stat boost from being a bonus unit. 47 HP is still really high though, and adds to his overall bulk. In his attack stat, we see that Hinata got a much needed improvement, bringing his base attack up from 32 to 37, the same attack as a neutral Ross, I might add. Now his speed is where I have some slight issue with. He's got 27 speed, which is definitely on the lower side. It's a shame they didn't put some of that unnecessary speed towards his HP or attack, since it's largely gonna go unused. Without some serious investment, he's not gonna be doubling anyone, so you can kind of dismiss this stat altogether, unfortunately. As for his resistance, it's unsurprisingly low. Hinata has always been a close combat bruiser, and with only 21 resistance, you're gonna want to keep him away from dragons and magic units altogether. I really don't think this stat is worth saving, so it might be best to just dismiss it altogether. Okay, let's move on to his base kit now, as there's quite a bit to unpack here. In his weapon slot, Hinata comes with the huge Fan Plus. Despite him holding it more so like a lance or a sword, this weapon is definitely an axe. It's got 14 might and comes with a conditional breath effect. So long as there is a bonus active on Hinata, he will gain attack and defense +4 during combat and gain an additional special charge per the foe's attack. This is really good. And I am shocked, because we've been getting some really nice weapons all year long. Between Air, Silk, and Bartra, the Tempest Trial units this year have been packing some really nice weapons. This one in particular does require Hinata to play a certain way though. He's gonna have to have a bonus on at all times, whether it come from an ally or from himself. And because one of his weapon effects is a breath effect, he's going to skew towards the enemy phase. What's especially nice about this weapon is it eliminates the need to run Heavy Blade, freeing up one of his skill slots and allowing us to pack on some high cost specials such as Ether or even Gale Force. Overall, this is an excellent weapon. Quite honestly, one of the best free weapons we've had in a long time. I'm actually really tempted to give it to my Ross, because he'd love the built-in breath effect. I'm just kind of torn because I really like Hinata and also can't stand the thought of foddering him off, but this is definitely a weapon to keep your eyes on. Moving on to his assist slot, Hinata comes with Reciprocal Aid, which allows him to trade HP with the target ally. It's not a particularly flashy skill, but it can have some uses in certain niche situations, like trying to get Hinata under a specific HP threshold for skills like Vantage, maybe. In his A slot, Hinata comes with Attack and Defense Bond 3, which grants him +5 attack and defense in combat so long as he is directly adjacent to an ally. It certainly fits into the whole wedding theme that they're going for in his kit, but my opinion of bond skills has changed quite a bit since I first started my channel, so I'll talk more about that when we get to our builds. That leaves Close Guard 3 as the last skill on our list. Close Guard 3 is a pretty great skill that grants +4 defense and resistance to any allies within a 2-tile radius in combat. It's a really good support-oriented skill and a popular choice for dancers and healers. However, if you're planning on building him offensively, I would definitely ditch this for a skill that can provide him with a bonus so that his weapon effect can activate. It's also worth mentioning that much like with Ashnard, who was the other free unit we got this month, we already have a unit in the Grail shop that has Close Guard 3. The Death Knight. It's disappointing that we're getting the same skills available on new units when there are still so many skills out there like Warding Stance 3 or Quick Riposte that are still locked to 5-star units. Still, it's a good skill overall, so I can't be too mad. I just thought I'd mention it. Anyway, that is it for Hinata's base kit. Between his stats and that awesome new weapon he's got, we've got some fun options to play with as far as builds go. Let's switch gears and get things started with our first budget build. So I'm calling this one our budget bonus build, as it's really just giving Hinata the bare minimum to help him function through Tempest Trials. We are of course keeping his weapon, but giving it a refine in defense, granting him an additional +5 HP and +4 defense. In his assist slot, we are of course plugging in Reposition, which will allow him to shovel his allies towards or away from the enemy at will. This is especially handy for Hinata since, with his high defense, he'll be able to take a lot of hits for his squisher allies. In his special, I'm plugging in Bonfire, which just seemed like the best budget choice for him. Bonfire has a cooldown cost of 3 and scales its damage boost off of his defense, which, as we've already established, is quite high. It's available on quite a number of free-to-play friendly units, so it should be fairly accessible too. Now, in his ace skill, you'll notice that I've decided to keep attack and defense bond 3. Admittedly, it's not my favorite skill for him because he should be able to function pretty well on his own, but if you're going for minimal investment, it gets the job done. In his B slot, we've got Old Reliable Quick Riposte 3. It's easily the most expensive skill in this build, but it's the only way that Hinata will be able to double his enemies, especially as an enemy phase unit. You can of course slip Quick Riposte into his S slot, but I'm a little hesitant to do so and I'll explain why. So in both his C slot and S slot, we've got double wave skills going on. Ordinarily, I'd only ever consider a double wave build if we were maybe building a Blade Tome user. But my reasoning for this weird setup is that Hinata has to have a bonus active at all times in order for his weapon effect to activate. This can easily be solved if he's supported by another unit, but in the odd case that Hinata doesn't have anyone to support him, you might have to fall back on something weird like this to ensure that he's got a bonus active at all times. Now, I do want to mention that thanks to Ferdinand von Ayer, we have Rouse, Speed, and Defense available in the 4-star summoning pool. It's not the best skill for Hinata as the increase in speed doesn't really help him out a lot, but it does allow us to activate his weapon effect much more consistently. In doing so, this allows us to free up his S slot, which I would recommend filling with Sturdy Stance 2, which grants us +4 attack and defense in combat on the enemy phase. If you decide to go down this road, I would also recommend replacing his A skill as well, since Bond skills don't really synergize with Rouse skills, so you're more than welcome to go for double Sturdy Stance for maximum enemy phase potential, at least while on a budget. Alright, and that is it for our first build. Sorry if I scared some of y'all with the double waves. I know it's weird, but I just really want to emphasize that Hinata needs to have a bonus on at all times in order to make the most out of his weapon. That being said, we can do a lot more once we've got some more expensive fodder to play with. On to build number 2. So for our second build, we've got a few more tools to play with. We're gonna keep the defense refined on his weapon and jump over to his special, which I am replacing with Ether. With a cooldown cost of 5, this skill boosts his damage based off his attack stat, and also recovers HP equal to 50% of the damage dealt to the enemy. It's easily one of the best inheritable specials available, and is much easier to build up thanks to his weapon's built-in breath effect. Moving over to his A slot, we've got Attack Defense Solo 3, which grants Hinata +6 to those respective stats so long as he isn't adjacent to any allies during combat. This is the polar opposite of the Bond skill he comes with, and in my opinion, is much easier to control and less restrictive than a Bond skill. Sturdy Stance 3 is also a fantastic option, but I don't know that everyone has a spare Idan lying around. In his B slot, I decided to shake things up and throw in Sudden Panic. Sudden Panic is a fun skill that inflicts panic on any foes with less HP than Hinata, so long as they are standing adjacent to another ally. With his high base HP, Hinata is a fantastic unit for this skill, and it offers him a little spice to this otherwise straightforward kit. In his C slot, we're gonna opt for Rouse Attack and Defense 3 as his preferred C skill of choice. Much like his A skill, it grants +6 attack and defense out of combat so long as he isn't adjacent to any allies at the start of the turn. With his weapon, his A slot, and his C skill activated, you're looking at a grand total of +16 attack and defense on both phases. Of course, he's going to prefer to function on the enemy phase, but this is still an incredibly well-rounded kit for him. The last thing to mention is that we kept Quick Riposte, but moved it over to his S slot so that he could run Sudden Panic in the B slot. But that's it. That is build number 2. I really like how well it synergizes, and like someone on Reddit pointed out, Hinata is basically a budget Edelgard. Alright, here are what his stats look like when fully merged up. No surprises here, his HP, attack, and defense all come up pretty damn high, and I think that for players who really love Hinata, myself included, he is a really fantastic choice for a merge project. And as a reminder, assuming you keep the 2 free copies we get from the Tempest Trial event, it will cost a total of 2,700 grails to +10 him. Okay, and that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I had a lot of fun trying to figure out a solid build for him, and more than anything, I think I'm still in shock that he got an alternate. I know I'm pretty stoked. I don't think I ever expected him to get an alternate, but I'm really looking forward to building him someday later down the road. If you like what you see, please consider giving this video a thumbs up or even leaving a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you haven't already, consider joining our Discord server. We're a fun group of people that love to geek out about Fire Emblem, so if you're interested in joining us, the invite link is in the description below. Please let me know if you also plan on summoning for this banner. I'm a little tempted by Raphael, but I don't know that I want to spend orbs, not with the summer just around the corner, so we will see. Oh, and before wrapping things up, quick shout out to @0vv0b. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce their name or their Twitter handle, but they're the artists that made the awesome Hinata art that you see on the thumbnail. They're super talented, so please go check them out and support them if you can. I will leave a link to their page in the description below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy saving, happy summoning, and take care.